folks. Good evening. It's the Earthmaster here on this Monday night, November 7th, 2022 date. It's about 8:34 p.m. That's California time. Latest quake activity here on the globe. Let's go ahead and blow this thing up here and see what we got. It looks like a 3.7 here around the Java Trench at about 32 kilometers deep. The latest quake on the map here. We have seen some deeper activity here across the region, including this this fairly deep earthquake here in the Java Trench area. 4.1, 527 kilometers deep. So some pretty crazy activity kicking up into the Java Trench area. Before we get into that, kind of want to talk about the total lunar eclipse that's going to be visible to some folks out there tonight. Not here in California. Unfortunately, well, I should say fortunately, because I appreciate the rain more than I do a total lunar eclipse. So we are not going to be able to see that here along the West Coast tonight with the incoming low pressure system. But there is the option for those that have the clarity out there to see this total lunar eclipse. It's going to be the last one for about 3 years. So if you are up early in the morning, and a lot of folks are, right? Tuesday morning, tomorrow morning, a lot of folks do work out there. 6 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, 5:59 right there, is going to be the greatest eclipse. So if you're like me and kind of want to see the progressiveness of the eclipse, you'll have to get up right around 3:55 a.m. Eastern time. And then go from there. You'll start to see the partial eclipse, 50% partial eclipse at 4:44 a.m. Eastern time. And then again, the greatest eclipse will be at 5:59 a.m. Eastern time. And this is kind of like the blood moon. They do call it the blood moon because of that shadow that the Earth casts across the lunar surface there. It's pretty cool, but man, I am not going to be awake at that early in the morning to see that. And looks like totality ends around 6:42, 50% partial once again about 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and then we're back to the full moon stage at 8:05 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're up there, check it out, guys. If you guys definitely have clear skies, it's definitely worth seeing, that's for sure. But to me, that's a little bit early in the morning here along the West Coast. So those are all Eastern times. Latest quake here got a looks like a 3.3 out around the Nixon area of Nevada. About 8.3 kilometers deep. We did see some earlier movement here about an hour or so ago. 1.9 within this region of the Sage Hen Valley. There's all sorts of fault systems out here throughout Nevada. Nevada's a prime example of multi-fault areas. You can see them across the ranges out here. It's a beautiful drive if you love the desert landscape. Not a whole lot of people out there. But when it comes to looking at the topography of the land, the fault systems out there, it's definitely awesome. Nevada's a good place to see that. And there's many fault systems out here throughout Nevada. So 3.3 out there right now. What else we got? Looks like a 2.5 outside of Covelo. This one coming in looks like earlier this morning, about 5.8 kilometers below the surface for a 2.5. And that's about it for Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. One earthquake here near the Amboy, Washington area. I've never heard of that. Outside of Mount St. Helens. 2.0, about 14 kilometers deep. Let's look at the rest of California. Absent, very absent of earthquake activity across the central portion here of the state. That's very abnormal. Most of the time along a major plate boundary, we're always seeing some type of earthquake activity. But there is nothing, absolutely nothing going on here across the western coast here. And that includes areas down south here along Southern California. Very spotty activity across the southern portion of the state. No major swarms, no major movement around the San Andreas Fault. And of course, this activity here from earlier this evening, actually one from this afternoon, a 2.7, and the majority of that from late last night. So that activity about ready to drop off the map. So a little bit of very quiet activity across the western coast right now. No major movement across the Intermountain West to report here. The only earthquake there across the Great Basin there is mentioned in the Nixon area of Nevada. Things very calm, very quiet. Yellowstone National Park, only a couple earthquakes here around Hebgen Lake. Let's go ahead and check this out here around the area. And key up this map here. Yeah, definitely not a lot of activity whatsoever. There's nothing showing up here across the park as far as microquake activity goes. There was that one earthquake. I believe that's the one in the, I think, Idaho area, right? I believe that's the Idaho area. Let's see what we got here. It did show up across the northwestern corner of the park. Not a whole lot. Yeah, actually, let me check that out here. Hold on. Stand by for just a second here. Kind of hard to tell exactly where these earthquakes are striking. It was about 1100, about 10:30 UTC time there up on the Yellowstone graph. Kind of an odd earthquake. It did show up definitely across the majority of the park, and also there looks like there's another one down here on the southern end of the park. This is a localized earthquake, well away from our swarming area, but it did pick up on the Maple Creek area. But this activity kind of odd. Looks more or less like it's closer to the Idaho area than Wyoming. And I'm really not, to be honest, I'm really not seeing anything specifically within this area. So we'll wait for the USGS to see what they have to say about that earthquake, or two earthquakes that are listed up on the map that are kind of localized to the region here. Not specifically Yellowstone National Park, but seems like it may be outside around the Grand Teton area. And also maybe possibly over here around the Idaho area. So we'll watch that closely. Across the southern plains, a beautiful state of Oklahoma. The majority of this activity here from much earlier. Not a whole lot happening throughout the evening time frame at all. Eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet as well. We did have some activity down in Texas, a 3.6 earlier this morning. But for the most part, generally speaking here, the only notable earthquake out here within recent time, I'm talking about afternoon to evening time frame till now, is the earthquake there in Nevada. And that's about it. Up into the Alaska area, one earthquake way up north. Kind of pay attention to these northern earthquakes here around the Brooks Range. That's well away from the plate boundary. A lot of activity kicking up here in the past couple months. They do get some rather large earthquakes here on occasion. Historical data does show some of that movement up to the northeast. Kind of hard to see across this map here, but we do get some larger quakes up here around these mountain zones, Franklin Mountain zones, and the Brooks Range area. But for now, 2.0. And movement across Alaska, somewhat elevated across the Cook Inlet, Anchorage area, excuse me, and across the Aleutian Trench. It's outside starting to fire because it's cold out, 44 degrees here in the Sacramento Valley around Chico. And I just wanted to start a fire outside, enjoy a little bit of outdoor time before the rain comes back in. Most of this activity here across the early afternoon time frame along the Aleutian Trench, and this movement off the coast of Russia into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, older activity, some from yesterday and early, I'm talking about 2 o'clock in the morning, across this area. So no further renewed activity within this region. Smoke. Yeah, breathe in the smoke while I'm having a barbecue, or not a barbecue, but a fire pit outside. Not the best thing to do, right? Right before an update. East China Sea, 4.5. Early this morning, about 16 kilometers deep. And the the newer activity, let me see what we got for the most newest activity. It looks like around the Indonesia area, a 4.1. Look at that one. That, and I kind of talked about that there on the Earthquake 3D globe. That is a super, super deep earthquake for this area. Not too often do we see a 527 kilometer deep earthquake around the Java Sea. That's way down there into the Java Trench. So this area here should be under watch for further activity. That's some deep movement going on. It's not large scale activity, but it's definitely a super deep earthquake. And it has been reviewed. Looking at historical data here shows a line of activity across the area. And definitely deeper than 300 kilometers. But got to remember here, this deeper activity across this area of the Java Trench does trigger much larger activity across the region here, up along the surface area. So watch that pretty closely here, folks. It's in a area that sees quite a bit of larger activity historically. The rest of the globe here, or the flat scale map, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on across the region. Looking at the data here, shows about the same. Himalaya is pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of newer activity. It looks like maybe a little bit of movement here around the Mediterranean area. Some small earthquakes, but nothing major going on. Pretty quiet across that area for the most part. South America, some 2s, and it looks like a 4.5 in there as well. It looks like USGS did report that 4.5 near the, what is that, Salta, Argentina? 179 kilometers deep there into the Peru-Chile Trench. Looking at the Puerto Rico Trench area, this area had my eyes open earlier on it because this does play a major part in producing one day a mega quake up here around the Puerto Rico Trench area. And we did see some activity earlier on it. 3.3 looks to be the latest here earlier this afternoon, specifically within that region of the Puerto Rico Trench. But this evening time frame seems like things have kind of calmed down just a little bit throughout that area of Puerto Rico. Across the Big Island, it almost seems, and actually I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Things, when they're calm out here along the west coast, California speaking, things are calm out here along the Big Island. And we haven't really seen a lot of activity here. Goodness. In the last hour or so, the latest earthquake here looks like just over an hour ago, 2.5, around the Pahala area. But that's about it. The majority of the activity from earlier this morning. No major swarms kicking up here. We are noticing a little bit of broad area of scattered activity out here off the coast of Pahala, offshore, just a few miles or so. One earthquake northeast or northwest of Mauna Kea, 2.3. At 20 kilometers deep there. So no major adjustments, no major changes are noted across the Big Island of Hawaii. The tremor map tonight consists of about 165 epicenters, kind of a little uptick here, into Northern California. Under Northern California, I should say. Underneath, it kind of looks like around the Whiskey Town, actually Weaverville, Trinity Lake, Whiskey Town area looks like within this region. 165 epicenters, kind of a little bit of an uptick here tonight along that area. We haven't really seen any major movement here across the area. A lot of times this deeper movement into the Cascadia, which is of course underneath the Northern California area, and of course it extends way up north here throughout the Pacific Northwest. We do see a little bit of earthquake activity that gets triggered due to the stress buildup upstream, so to speak. And that's kind of It's kind of been a little on the quiet side. So got to remember the Cascadia sits right offshore here, and of course it does extend way up north. This is all subducting to the north or northeast area, and the tremor activity occurs as noted pretty much within this range right here, but down dip within this area. And that area, as we get the subduction going on here within this area, that adds further uplift of the land here, of the coastal range, and further strain within this region. And sometimes we see earthquake activity. But this is why it's creating the back building of the pressure within the Cascadia subduction zone within this area right here, the locked area. Got to remember, the further you go down on the map here, the deeper you get. The tremor activity occurs roughly about 25, 45 kilometers deep below this subduction zone right here. So that's it's an area that it's been building up pressure for quite some time, and this extends all the way, folks, all the way up to the Vancouver Island ranges, just off the area of Queen Charlotte Sound. And no doubt this thing will be newsworthy and very destructive one day. It's very capable of producing a 9.0 earthquake, very similar to what we've seen in Japan back in 2011. So, all the coastal ranges, Gold Beach, Coos Bay, beautiful areas out there will no doubt, unfortunately, be wiped off the map. And that's not fearmongering. That's a fact. And there's a reason why there's tsunami evacuation routes out there for the folks that live along the Oregon coastline. This area is not going to be the place to be when that earthquake does produce a 9.0 and a mega tsunami along this area. So tremor tonight, just a little bit into Northern California, as noted. The Solar Ham site, these folks right here, looks like they finally agreed with what I was speaking with over the last couple days here. They have amplified 3141. I did mention here over the last couple updates about the complex magnetic field that it's been harboring. Looks like they finally caught on. Awesome. It is harboring a beta gamma magnetic class field here, which harbors potential for some elevated flare potential. And these guys here are forecasting a 55% chance for a C flare, M flare at 20, X flare elevated at 5% chance there. So notice the complex magnetic fields here amongst both of these structures. And that's a good possibility of seeing some elevated conditions there. So I'm glad these guys are on it. They're either following my lead or following maybe their own common sense amongst the data here, which is good to see. Overall threat of the solar flare department, 65% chance for a C flare, 25% chance for an M flare. The X flare elevated at 10% chance there. So things are starting to get active. And these areas here, this group of sunspots that harbor that potential, are coming into view, folks, as it gets centered here amongst the disk of the sun. We're going to see those potential for, whatever pops off, whether it's an X flare with a major CME, could be directed at Earth here in the coming days. So this is the major area to watch here. It's lined up pretty much perfectly, center disk of the sun, far as a good shot at the Earth there. Watch that pretty closely. Looks like these guys are kind of, I don't know what they did with the KP index here. Looks a little on the generic side. I guess that's what I can say here. KP index here. I kind of miss their old index here. Maybe they'll switch back here. Looks like we did have a little bit of peak of the KP index of 5 earlier. Right now, current conditions are pretty mellow. Around the 2 range. We're not really expecting much right now. Over the next night or so, somewhat mixed conditions here. 3 to 4 on the KP index range, with only a 45% possibility of higher latitudes seeing some auroras. and then after that things are green until we see something maybe possibly pop off there from those sunspots. So we'll watch that pretty closely. But yeah, 3141, definitely watching that pretty closely. There is the mention, like I mentioned last night and this morning, about the southward tilt of the BZ component. It did generate a little bit of minor G1 class storming that did create some storming conditions there at the higher latitudes. No major coronal holes are facing us right now, so we'll worry about the solar flare activity that could be threatening us here with some flaring movement. Let's see, what else do we have? I think that's about it, folks. Another earthquake there in the Puerto Rico area, kind of in a seismic gap here, so to speak, a 3.3 at 13 kilometers deep. Still got to watch this area pretty closely. It's a pretty good cluster of quakes right up against a major trench area. Got the Puerto Rico Trench up here to the north, Mariota's Trough to the south here. A lot of squeezing, a lot of plate dynamic pressure here in this region that we have to worry about far as producing a major quake. And I think that's it's possible, definitely possible here in the future. Definitely got to watch that area pretty closely. All right, folks, just a heads up, we are coming up on our monthly drawing for our members only. Our super fans, member only. Probably do that here coming up towards the middle of the month. We've been giving away prizes to our members that join the channel. And up for grabs this month, we like to give the option here, giving away a Earthmaster t-shirt, or your choice also. Get about 3 prizes here if that you can choose from. 1 second here. Let me switch this back to 3.3. So Earthmaster t-shirt, or you can go with a geology mining kit if you like some pick hammers and some other stuff for mining rocks and whatnot, kind of like I do. That is up for grabs. It's pretty cool, neat little package. Or as always, we offer a $40 gift card, whether it's your choice. If you want an Amazon gift card, if you want a Visa gift card, MasterCard option, a gas card, that is the other option there. So I give you guys 3 possibilities here for the drawing, and that is for the members only. The join option here is listed up here on the channel. And we provide extra videos, extra emojis, and general chit chat behind the scenes when it comes to the members here. So, that is up for grabs. We've had a few winners here over the past couple months, and I definitely advise you guys, if you're interested there, to join in. Not a huge drawing right now, so we got about 41, 42 members up here on the channel, so your chances of winning are probably much, much larger than tonight's Powerball possibilities there. So I'm not gonna lie, I did play a couple tickets for tonight's Powerball. I figure that I'm not gonna win unless I at least try, right? So I normally don't play the lottery. I normally don't go down that route, but you know what? I actually paid, what was it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 $10 on the Powerball lottery tonight. I think it's almost like $2 billion. So I haven't heard if anybody's won or not. That's a lot of money for someone to win, specifically just for one person. I can't even imagine that, to be honest. So I'm hoping that it would be spread out amongst maybe 4 or 5 people. That way, even then, that's still a lot of money. That's an enormous amount of money. And to be honest, I don't even think I'd want that amount of money. I mean, what would you do with all that money? It's unbelievable and unimaginable, to be honest. So, but whoever wins, definitely good luck, and hopefully they do well and do good with the with those fortunes there. But I don't know. I haven't checked my numbers. I don't even know if the drawing's been held yet, but I'm out of here, folks. I'm going to go check out my fire outside. We got another storm system coming in. Much needed rain to California here, and I'm loving it. I'm going to go outside and enjoy the rain and the wind here that's coming up here in about an hour or so. So that's what I do. I sit outside and enjoy the wind. Little odd, but you know what? I like it. Who doesn't love the wind and the rain after months and months of 110, 115 degree temperature? Have a good night, folks. Again, join up. Hit that join button here on the channel to be a member of the Earthmaster channel and get some extra videos, extra perks, extra emojis, and benefits there. Sometimes we get some good discounts there on Earthmaster merchandise to those members. And we kind of want to see you guys in the drawing coming up this month. So, all right, folks, have a good night. Stay safe. We will chat you guys very soon. Peace out.